that your normal look? Is that?
Oh man, this is cool. Yeah, what's up? I don't know. Danny's hating on my jeans.
I got no problem
Style.
with
No, I was just joking.
It seems like the story of that fight is once you got it to the ground, that was it. It was done, man.
Yeah.
Was that the game plan?
No, maybe. I mean, the game plan these days is just fight within myself. You know, I mean, I used to, and if you guys have followed me for a while, I used to get into fights and get into the fight. I wanted the fight to happen, and it's from my wrestling roots. It's from my wrestling background. I want to get my hands on you. I'm not content unless I have my hands on you and I'm going forward and I'm trying to score. And that, a lot of times in this sport, leads to a lot of danger, a lot of missed opportunities, a lot of damage, running into shots, taking damage I don't need to. So I'm just, honestly, I don't mean to like brag on myself, but I'm proud of myself and proud of this veteranship that I have now, where I have a guy he was an awkward, very low to the ground southpaw, who was coming in with some power shots. I wasn't feeling it. I was just finally starting to get the distance. You know, he ate that head kick extremely hard. He ate a body kick extremely hard. He hit me to the body hard, pretty hard in the liver. You know, so I was getting the range. I felt like I was in control of the fight. And then all of a sudden, we went to the ground, and the rest is history.
It sounds like you're saying, though, what you were saying earlier is the way you used to fight led to those, you know, the Eddie Alvarez fights that we all know and love and remember. And I'm sure you love them too because it built you into what you are. But is that like young and dumb kid kind of thing?
I think it's young and dumb, but I also think there's so much more that I have to show that you guys haven't seen yet, and I think that comes with extreme technique, extremely violent game plans that can turn into a brawl. I mean, I still think I'm the most violent man in MMA. Eddie Alvarez is out there, you know, telling everybody he's the most violent man in MMA. I think I'm still the most violent man in MMA, just because I know that there's a brake pedal now a little bit, just because I can fight with my brains a little bit more rather than just my brawn. Doesn't mean I'm not the most violent man in MMA, and I also think I'm the best wrestler in MMA. You know, I really do think I can pick anybody up in the entire world across any division, pick them up, put them down, and control them. My takedown defense is stellar. I'm not going to get taken down, and when you get to the ground, it's going to be a slow grind, and it's going to be painful.
Apparently, that violence led to him separating his shoulder. Apparently,
yeah, I guess and man, what a testament to that dude, man. I knew he was tough. He's the kind of guy we need in this sport, man. A guy who's not afraid. He took this fight on 4 weeks' notice against one of the top lightweights in the world, the scariest guy the scariest fight that he could take in this organization. And he didn't even say no. You know, I mean, I even saw his tweet. He's like, you know, fight Chandler on 3.5 weeks' notice. F yeah. You know, like that was what he said. That was his tweet. That's just the kind of guy he is. And my hat's off to him, man. I wish him a speedy recovery. And it was very interesting because I caught him with that choke and his body went limp, and I knew he was out. And thank God we had Jason Herzog in there, who's a very smart ref, and luckily stopped the fight.
Brent was tweeting earlier tonight too, apparently thanking him for taking the fight. I mean, do you have a message to send out to the champ about
who?
Brent.
Brent who?
Brent Primus.
Brent Primus?
Yeah.
Never heard of him. Is he a jiu-jitsu guy? Is he a jiu-jitsu fighter? Is he a
Apparently he's got a piece of hardware, but yeah.
Okay, cool. I never heard of him, so I don't care if he has a Twitter account.
Beautiful.
You talked about things we haven't seen yet. In what areas do you think you've grown, at least as far as you can share publicly?
I think really, and that's a really good question, because that's what I feel is happening these days. I mean, it's not about the punches, it's not about the kicks, it's not about the knees, the elbows, the wrestling, the grappling. It's just about becoming a mature man. It's about stepping into a cage and understanding that God put me on this earth to do this, not just half-heartedly, and not just as a career, but something that spearheads into doing something really, really great on this earth. And I have such an awesome opportunity. Obviously, I am extremely motivated by my beautiful wife and my new son now, and it's one of those things where I just feel different when I step into the cage. I used to step into the cage. To be honest with you, I didn't like fighting. Fighting was crazy to me. It was scary to me. It was turmoil. It was tied on to a tornado, and it was nuts. But now I literally step into the cage, and when my feet touch that canvas, I feel like I'm home. I feel like I'm inside my home, and that's a scary place to be when you're standing across the cage from a man. who wants to be nowhere else in the entire world than right there in that cage doing what God called him to do. So I think it's just that maturation process of becoming a man in the sport, and I'm still getting faster and bigger and stronger, and my technique is getting better. So it's awesome to be I'm turning 32 in a couple days now, and I feel like I'm still scratching the surface of my capabilities in this sport.
Can you talk a little bit about being in there against a guy who was training for this fight with a guy that you trained with not too long ago, Carrington Banks, for example?
Yeah.
And you're looking across at
Yeah.
guys that were on your team not too long ago.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, and obviously, people have asked me about that, and even Jen Brown, right before the fight, asked me about it. And John McCarthy asked me about the Neil thing, because he was one of my old coaches. And, I think it's one of those things where wrestling hardens you and turns you into a man who can handle any facet of life. And I will take that to the grave with me. And wrestling has helped me do that. I've been friends with guys on other teams that have to fight or wrestle my teammates, and it's part of it. This is a sport. At the end of the day, it's a guy with 2 arms and 2 legs, and we go out there and we have a rule set, and we go out there and we put it on the line, and then may the best man win. So it doesn't matter who's in his corner, it doesn't matter who coached him, it doesn't matter if he thinks he's going to beat me or doesn't think he's going to beat me. There was a lot of those things as far as training with other guys, and Neil was my coach for most of my career, almost my whole career. It was cool. It turns out I choked him out with one of his favorite moves, so it worked out pretty well. And I'm nasty on the ground. I'm nasty anywhere. So it doesn't matter who's in this corner. I know who's in my corner. I know how great my training camp is, how awesome my coaches are with Henry Hooft, Evan Boris, and Kami Barzini, Greg Jones, Mario Sperry, just ridiculous. That's just my coaches. And then I got a ton of UFC guys, a ton of Bellator guys at the top of their game, coming in to make each other better, and couldn't be happier with my team that I have.
Michael, you talk about you lose the title on a really gruesome kick. You come back, you look better than ever. Do you feel somewhat disrespected that you didn't get that title shot right when you return? Or do you feel that you have to build your way back up to earn that title shot?
Honestly, I didn't have to build it wasn't in Bellator's cards. It wasn't in Bellator's plans to build me up. Unfortunately, the man that stepped into the cage with me at Madison Square Garden is a part-time fighter. He was on maternity leave as soon as that fight happened, and he wanted the 8 month maternity leave, and I wanted to fight. I feed my family with this. I take this very seriously. I got 2 mouths to feed at home, two people that lives depend on me. So I wanted to step back into the cage. So what did I do? I took on the scariest prospect in the lightweight division, Yamauchi, with 18 submission wins. Then all of a sudden, he gets hurt again. The wannabe champion gets hurt again. Now I have to step in the cage against Brandon Gertz, a very tough opponent. This is just a fight game. This is what happens. I mean, we saw it last week at UFC 223. Khabib fought Ali Quinto on 12 hours notice, 16 hours notice. You just have to be ready. You got to focus on your game. You got to focus on yourself. I've never felt disrespected by Bellator. Bellator and I have had an awesome symbiotic relationship. I have helped build this organization since 2010 when I started fighting with them, and they have helped build me since they signed me. They've done right by me, I've done right by them, and we're going to make a lot of magic. We've made a ton of magic already thus far, and like I said, I'm just getting started, and I'm excited to keep moving forward.
Hey Mike, real quick, can you point out, you mentioned earlier that it wasn't fun for you. Can you quickly can you name a fight where that changed for you?
The Patricky Pitbull fight. And it wasn't just the knockout, it wasn't, obviously the knockout here, it was here in St. Louis at the Scott Trade Center. Mm-hmm. It's just different. I can't explain it. It's almost like they call it flow in sports psychology, where you're present, but you're reacting and you are responding to what's going on instead of just, if you've seen my old fights, it's eyes glazed over, 100 miles an hour, coming forward, eating shots to take a shot, and that's fun. It's fun for you as a fan. It's fun for us as a fan. I look back and I watch those fights, but it's not going to be fun, when my career ends because I don't have a chin anymore, because I keep taking more and more damage. And you see guys fighting like that, but it's just it's a presence in there that's different. I'm not a wild animal in there. I'm a dangerous human being who is fighting with his brain, who is seeing shots happen, who's letting the fight materialize in front of him, rather than trying to turn it into a brawl, trying to turn it into a fist fight. And a lot of it comes with confidence. I beat Eddie Alvarez in 2011, 18 months into my career. That's unheard of. I didn't even know how to fight. I will never forget the week before I fought Eddie Alvarez. I got so mad at myself because I wrapped my own hands, and my hands kept going numb. And I told my boxing coach, Gil Martinez, I said, how the heck am I supposed to win a world title against Eddie Alvarez and I can't even wrap my hands? You know, so like that shows you how green I was. So when you're green, you just fight on emotion. You fight off your heart. You fight off of your brawn. You fight to freaking stay alive because you don't actually, your skills have not caught up with your athleticism. I was all athletic, but I wasn't skills. And now I have athleticism and the skills and the veteranship to go with it. And it's just a presence in there, and I just feel different. And I don't know, it's an awesome feeling because I finally feel like I'm home in the cage.
Just one more for me. The next time you step in the cage for the belt, how do you get the job done?
It depends on who I'm fighting. You know, I mean, I think if it is the current champion, I mean, we didn't see anything in that last fight that really shows us much of kind of what game plan to take. Really, I just focus on myself. Like I said before, I mean, it's hard to focus on fighting a certain guy because you don't want to get caught up in who you're fighting and what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are. You want to focus on those little nuances, but 90% of the time I'm focused on myself. What can I do to step across the cage and get the job done? What are my strengths? What game plan can I implement to get that fastest victory, the fastest path to victory? You know, but if I end up fighting him again, it's going to be violent. It's going to end quickly, and I'm going to make him wish he never got off maternity leave.
Is that lightweight belt something that you really that's your next milestone, or something else that you want to accomplish instead? Because I know you're in a good fight. You know what's going to happen. Is there anything else that you have your eye on, maybe?
Man, I don't know, man. I just thank God I have an amazing team around me, phenomenal management, you know, and we'll figure it out. Like I said, man, I've been with Bellator now for a long time. They've done right by me. I have helped build this promotion. They have helped build me as well, and we've always done a good job of finding great opponents that are great matchups that turn into great fights, and we'll see what's next. I don't think that belt is coming to me anytime soon because I don't think the man who has it or who is holding on to it with dear life wants to step into the cage and chance losing it.
What's it like for you to be able to fight in front of a crowd in St. Louis?
It's awesome, man. I mean, I have since, you know, after I left Mizzou, I wrestled here in St. Louis, wrestled in college at Mizzou, then went off to the West Coast for like 7 years, you know, Vegas and San Diego and Arizona, and now I moved to Nashville, so now I'm back in the Midwest, kind of Southeast area. But man, I was born and raised here in St. Louis, and I say this all the time, I wouldn't be where I am today or the man I am today without growing up in the Midwest, without growing up in Missouri, without growing up as Mike Chandler and Betty Chandler's son, who pulled himself up by their bootstraps every single day. My dad has never slept past 5 a.m. He's always got his work boots on. He's always working. My mom and dad worked 2 and 3 jobs to make sure there was enough food on the table for me and my 2 brothers, as well as giving us the opportunity to go to whatever wrestling camp, whatever football camp, whatever baseball league, whatever it is that we wanted to accomplish. They wanted to give us a life that was better than the life that they lived, and that's really something I have taken from this Midwest upbringing, and I'm taking it out into the world. And really, my message is hard work and surrounding yourself with the greatest people you possibly can. And there's no better people than right here in St. Louis. So I love everybody who came out. I appreciate the support. I feel the electricity. I feel the emotion. I feel the love. And if Bellator's smart, they're going to continue to come here 1 to 2 to 3 times a year.
Kind of a 2-part question. You talk about that Mizzou team you had.
Yes, sir.
Down there was one of the best in collegiate. Some fantasy booking. One, what did you think of that Mizzou team, and what kind of a place does it hold in your heart? And 2, fantasy booking. You say you can throw anybody around. What would it be to get you and T-Wood in here to throw each other around?
No, me and T-Wood would never fight. I mean, first of all, that's a big, scary man. And he's like my big brother. You know, it's one of those things where the big brothers, the little brother's never going to beat up the big brother.
Just remember, you said you could throw anybody around.
I can't throw anybody around. In the lightweight division, definitely. But, no, I mean, you know, Tyron is too good a friend of mine. I mean, he's cornered me in multiple fights. Honestly, Tyron got me into this sport. Tyron and Ben Askren both got me into this sport. Tyron cornered me for my first 3 fights. Tyron basically got me my Bellator contract because I fought on Strikeforce for 2 fights because Tyron was fighting for Strikeforce, one in St. Louis, one in Kansas City. Tyrone was like my manager for a couple years, you know what I mean? So like I said, I mean, our roots run deep, our love for each other runs deep, so I would never fight him. He's like a big brother. But as far as the Mizzou team, it is funny because Brian Smith, the head coach of Mizzou, doesn't really even like fighting that much. You know, whenever Tyron first started fighting, he hated it. When Ben started fighting, he hated it. When I started fighting, he had finally come around and realized, okay, it's not just a couple dudes, you know, socking each other, you know, for fun. These guys can make a living. They can make a decent amount of money. They can be put on a platform to reach people. So he realizes that he can build these people, these young men into high functioning people in society. And if they go off to fight, they go off to fight. But man, it was a blessing to be a Mizzou Tiger. I will forever be a Mizzou Tiger. Like I said, I owe so much of my success. I'm standing here today because of the sport of wrestling and Northwest High School Wrestling, Bobby Brown Wilhelm, and Mizzou Wrestling, Coach Smith, and all the coaches there and all those training partners that helped me get to where I am and just beat the heck out of me to turn me into the man I am today, you know?